G'day there, it's Michael here and welcome to part number 2 in our series on memorizing the fretboard. I've got an extension of the previous exercise featured in this video lesson, so if you haven't watched the previous video, you want to click the button above and go and watch that one first because it lays down some essential no BS tips for memorizing the fretboard, which we're going to build upon in this video. In the previous video, we established 3 essential principles for memorizing the fretboard. The first one was knowing the musical alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. After G, we go back to A. The second principle was the fact that E and F are buddy notes, meaning they're immediately next to each other on any string, and then B and C are also buddy notes. Every other note has a 1 fret gap between it. Now that 1 fret gap is going to be what the focus is for today's video. But before we dive into that, the third and final principle was every 12 frets the same note repeats. So if E is 0, 12 should also be an E. If F is fret 1, 13 should also be an F note. But diving back into the gaps, so using string number 1 for example, we know it's the E string. E is 0, F is 1, G is 3, A is 5, B is 7, C is 8, D is 10, and E is number 12. But you notice that we skipped a gap between F at fret 1 and G at fret number 3. We ignored fret number 2. Now when we start out, we don't need to learn every single one, and you may find diagrams or lessons that tell you just to memorize it. This is E, this is F, this is F sharp, this is G, and you just count up. The reason I don't like that is because you're always stuck counting up from here. Whereas if we can teach you where 7 notes are on a fretboard, you can plus or minus to get a sharp or flat note. So you've heard me say sharps or flats a few times by now. Basically, the note at fret number 2 can be thought of in 2 ways. If we start with an F note and we raise it, we call it an F sharp note. If we start at a G note and we lower it, we call it a G flat note. Whether we use one or the other is dependent on the context of what key we're going to play in. We're not going to dive into that right now because it is a big explanation. I'll do a video on that in future. But we want to think of these gaps as being the black keys on a piano. The notes that we learned, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, they are the white keys on the piano. The sharps or the flats, the ones we ignored in the first time round, they are the black keys on the piano. And we are going to go back and learn them. So to learn these sharps and or flats, we're going to repeat the exact same exercise that we did previously, but we're going to change the set of notes. We're going to use A sharp, B natural, C sharp, D sharp, E natural, F sharp, and G sharp. There's no such thing as a B sharp, there's no such thing as an E sharp, so we will just use those as natural notes. So the exercise will now become E is 0, F sharp is 2, G sharp is 4, A sharp is 5, B is still fret 7 as normal, C sharp is 9, D sharp is 11, and we're back to E at fret 12. So you can go through each of the 6 strings and start learning where all the sharps are. And that's going to take a little bit longer, but if you have laid a solid foundation, if you know that F is 1, you go 1 higher, that's F sharp. If G is 3, G sharp is 4. So I would probably recommend, if you're new to learning the fretboard and you've just watched the first video, part number 1, you let that sink in and digest for a week before you move on to part number 2. You don't want to build on a loose foundation or not have everything set in place. But if you are an intermediate or advanced player and you kind of know how this works, you can dive right into the deep end and sink your teeth into it. So take a moment to pause this video and go through all the sharp notes using that note set. And then when you're ready, come back and we'll learn about the flats. So now we're going to dive into learning about the flat notes. And just like we did with the sharps, we're going to create a new set of notes. We're going to use A flat, B flat, C natural, D flat, E flat, F natural, and then G flat. So we've got a brand new set of notes. And again, we start on whatever string we want. We're just going to use string number 1 as an example. We're going to start with the F note. We've got F at fret 1, G flat at fret 2, A flat at fret 4, B flat at fret 6. We've got a C as normal at fret number 8 there. We've got D flat at fret number 9. We've got E flat at fret number 11, and we're going to jump up to the F note at fret number 13. So my recommendation is you do that 3 times forwards, saying them out loud, repeating the frets. The reason I say the frets out loud is because it creates an extra node in your brain that's going to help you memorize it and connect what's up here to what is being played down there. So there's quite a lot to unpack from this video here, these exercises we've gone over. You need to go 3 times forwards and at least 1 time backwards. F is 13, E flat is 11, D flat is 9. We've got a C as normal fret 8, B flat is 6, A flat is 4, G flat is 2, we've got the F as normal at fret number 1. You go 3 times forwards, at least 1 time backwards on string number 1, repeat the same thing on string 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's with the flats. You can do the same thing with the sharps and with the naturals. If you're a beginner, you might want to learn 1 string a week for 6 weeks just using the natural notes, and then start doing the sharps and then start doing the flats. If you're an intermediate player, you might want to learn all 6 strings natural 1 week, do all the sharps the next week, all the flats the week after that. If you're an advanced player and you're used to practicing hard and this isn't overwhelming for you, then you can do sharps, flats, naturals, all in one go, 3 times forward, 3 times back, all up and down the fretboard, and you will memorize the fretboard in no time at all. Anyway guys, that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you found it nice and helpful, and I hope you've got a wealth of exercises to work on in helping you memorize the fretboard. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I have plenty of exercises to help you continue learning and consolidating the information, as well as helping to map out our scales, our chords, our arpeggios, and understanding how this wonderful instrument works. So if you appreciate it, please give me a like and subscribe. That way it helps me out, and I know to keep making content like this, and it's also going to keep you up to date when the next video on this fretboard knowledge stuff comes out very, very soon. Anyway, thank you for your time today, and we'll see you in the next video.